Great.
Awesome.
Hey, Veer, thank you for your time. Good to talk to you again. Good to be talking to you again.
Yeah,
Uh,
same here.
so I was just, reflecting upon our last conversation, and the way I think about products is that, at the heart of it is the user.
Yeah.
Even before the business comes the product, and before the product comes the user. So if you can start with what is your offering to the user? How do you kind of, if I'm a user, how would you pitch it to me? And from there, we'll take it up, what the product is, what the GTM is, and other things.
Sure. So I think, Amit, as you rightly mentioned, before everything comes the user, right? And in our journey of building Plus, that is where we started, right? My wife, right, at that time, my fiance, was actually, usually doing these scheme deposits with one jeweler of her choice, right? Where she was actually going to a jeweler and saving some money every month with that jeweler. Now the problem that she was facing was, just before our marriage, when she wanted to, use the savings to buy a jewelry, right, especially my engagement ring, right, that I'm wearing right now, right, she faced the challenge कि उसको वहाँ पे designs पसंद नहीं, as a consumer you cannot switch the jewelers while you are saving in these schemes. And when she shared this problem with me and I was there firsthand, right, there's a lot of resistance from the jeweler's side when it comes to, letting your customer go, right, and the resistance from the consumer side कि यार I don't have that flexibility, right. That is when we started, kind of doing this dissection कि how big is this market really, right, and how are consumers doing it right now. And to our surprise, this market, of savings, jewelry saving schemes was close to 1.2 lakh crore, right, every year. That means that approximately means to, 20% of gold and jewelry sales in India, right? There are some jewelers that have, more than 40% of their revenues coming in through these schemes itself, right? So when we identified that, yes, it is a challenge, right? And obviously I had a pressure कि wife के लिए कुछ solve करना था, right? So decided कि let us build a product to solve this problem, and that is how the company eventually started.
Very interesting. Now, just there are few assumptions I could feel in it.
Yeah.
One is that you're assuming that these schemes, you're actually that's not an assumption. You're saying that 20% market is there.
Yeah.
How is it playing out? Like, how is it happening? Like, what was the process in which? Why did, or even before that, why did your wife decide to save
Hmm.
with a jeweler? Why didn't she, kind of save it with a bank or some peer-to-peer, lending company?
Yeah.
Because then you have the control over your money and you can decide what you want to do with it later on.
Yeah. So, there's this, unsaid belief on certain assets in India, right? Real estate tops it, followed by gold, right? And these two assets are, via generations by generation, are being transferred as wealth, right? And when it comes to women and the entire households in the country, gold is considered as one of the safest heavens that you can have, right? And when it comes to, saving with jewelers, this audience, and especially with respect to my wife also, right? Just like you have goals in saving कि मुझे इतना FD करना है, right? मुझे इतना अपना NPS में डालना है, right? People have a goal that every year I want to buy this much gram of gold, राइट नाउ देयर इज एन ऑडियंस दैट सेज कि ठीक है मैं डायरेक्टली अक्षय तृतीया को जाके 5 ग्राम सोना या 10 ग्राम सोना मैं खरीद लूंगा बट देन देयर इज एन ऑडियंस दैट डजंट हैव दैट फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी ऑफ और फ्रीडम ऑफ स्पेंडिंग दैट मनी अपफ्रंट, right? So since they know that their behavior and their goal is to buy gold or jewelry, right? They're very comfortable in saving in small amounts with these jewelers, right? And that is how these schemes were also started by jewelers because they understood that what they are selling is a high ticket value product, right? And Indian customers, since they are very price sensitive and they pre-plan their budgets before even the salary arrives, right? We need to give them something that is more comfortable to them, right? For example, let's say when a consumer goes to buy an iPhone, right? 1,40,000 बाजू में लिखा रहता है लेकिन उसके नीचे में 7,000 की EMI लिखी होती है, grasp. And that is how the jewelry market and the jewelers perceived it, saying कि let us actually give them an option to save in advance, and
Yeah.
and then eventually offer some benefit, because that solves two things. One, consumer का upfront capital नहीं लग रहा है, investment नहीं हो रहा है heavy, and jeweler के लिए working capital solve हो जा रहा
Right. So there are two questions that emerge from this in my mind. One is that, see, I understand from a jeweler's perspective, it totally makes sense. You can lock in the customer, and kind of slowly the you will upsell or whatever, those things can happen. But going back to my question, for a user, I also understand this behavior that I want to save money so that at the end of the year, I want to buy this much gold, or during Diwali, or Dhanteras or Akshaya Tritiya, whatever. What I don't understand is that why is the user going to the jeweler to make these savings? Why not see have the control of the money with themselves, leave the choice with themselves, and lastly decide, who is giving me better assortment of the stuff that I want to buy, or who is giving me a better price or service, or why lock your options when you can save elsewhere, because money is fungible.
Yeah. So, there are 2 points to this question, right? Number one, right? A user, right, wants to have certain flexibility, as you mentioned, right? But when it comes to gold and jewelry, right now, consumers are only saving with their trusted jewelers, right? It is a jeweler who has been there for generations. Like, for example, my mom has been buying jewelry from one fixed jeweler in Nagpur and one fixed jeweler in Pune. Right now, my sister is saving with them because she is like, I know, इसी से खरीदना है. All of my jewelry are from this jeweler only, so I know my money is safe. Right? That is number one. Number two, there are a lot of users who are in our age group right now, right? Between the age group of 25 to 40, who are somewhere in their career have achieved what they wanted to achieve, or in the journey of achieving, and they want the flexibility of not deciding the jeweler right now, but having said that they want to save in gold and then convert it into jewelry, and have that flexibility of converting this gold into jewelry, right, with some benefits, is the kind of a TG that even as Plus we are trying to tap into.
Okay, but see, how do we kind of reconcile these two things? Because at one point you're saying that as a user, I have a trusted jeweler and I'm always going to that jeweler. At the same time, that that jeweler is also, I'm also constrained, because now, like, your wife wanted choice, she didn't have that choice and she
Right,
was locked in.
right.
So either the user is saying, I want to buy from this because I trust it, or the user is saying, I want choice.
Hmm.
How are these two things coming
So
together?
actually, see, the user wants choice, but right now he doesn't have it. Right now, that's the limitation the user is operating into, and that is the limitation that we are trying to solve for. Right? When I look at this entire savings market, right, the annual income group between 5 to 15 lakh, right, constitutes more than 50% of these savings. Now, these are the people who are early in their career, right, who have fixed set of income annually, right, and they want to have that choice, but in the current scheme of things, they don't have that. So now they are going to a trusted jeweler that say कि हाँ generation इसी के पास save कर रहा है, right? So that is how my voice. Is it better now? Right?
I think it's fine, we can just carry on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So, yeah, I mean, that's why, the user decided कि if there is no solution to it, right, I'll probably just say with the jeweler that I've been trusting from a while, right? And that is why, when it goes to trust, Tanishq has been the biggest name, right? Tanishq
Yeah.
Golden Harvest, their saving scheme amount to more than 7,000 crore
Yeah.
annually, right? So, because it's the unsaid trust that people have with Tata, right?
Right.
So, that is where, because people don't have option, right, people are going for it, right? It's just presenting the users an option that this is what they can also do, right, will
So,
eventually
so
become that
there's,
trait.
see, again, there are two things. Like, see, like, would your mother, who has been buying from one specific jeweler all her life,
Hmm.
and assume that she's very comfortable with technology and she is a
Yeah, yeah,
savvy user,
right.
um, but because her trust lies with a certain jeweler, is she looking to have an option which allows her to kind of have option to go to multiple jewelers? Because as such, the marketplace offers that she can just walk into 100 meters more. this side, there'll be another jeweler there,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
it's not
yeah.
that the market doesn't provide those options, it's the trust that is lacking. So then the question becomes that how is Plus bringing that trust uh, into the user, and how, one is that how do we know that this is the jeweler to be trusted versus some other jeweler?
Yeah. So I think, the first angle of bringing trust to the platform is completely connected to the kind of jewelers we have as our partners, right? For example, in Mumbai, if I have to talk about, in every 5 kilometer we have a jeweler partner, right? And these jewelers have decades of legacy, right? So when their customer walks into their store and they see that, they have a verified by Plus ka lollipop signage latka hua outside, right? The customer will ask the jeweler, hey, what is this? The jeweler usually hands out our pamphlet saying, okay, yes, I'm running my saving scheme here, right? You can save here and get extra
So in
benefits
a
and
way,
so
you are
on.
trying to create a trust layer, which is like almost credentialing
Yeah,
that this is a trusted jeweler versus
exactly,
some. But
exactly.
you're not, you're just a startup today in the minds of the user. The jeweler has been there for decades. You are, coming out of nowhere, and
Right.
with a pop-up of yours, how would that, how are you giving credentialing? It could be like when Gold Council does it, or when some government authority does it, or a Harvard does it, or
Yeah,
some science,
yeah.
someone who has been testing it for years. So how do you kind of break into that?
Yep.
Um,
So I think, we are on the journey to build that credibility for us, and we are taking steps in that direction only, right? Starting from certain events on television to creating our campaign super strong that will go on television also, right? So we are
right.
planning for TVCs, we are planning for huge brand influencers as ambassadors, right? That directly sparks trust on the platform, right? And
Got it.
in next 6 months, that's our target. In next 6 months, we want to make sure that people have that trust on our platform. And at the same time, before this year ends, we will have a mega celebrity as one of our brand ambassadors slash investor,
Got it.
right? Who will resemble trust.
Got it. So the way I understand it is, see, for me, startups are about asking questions. If you're
Yes.
asking good questions and you keep fighting hard, you keep going deeper, you will find answers. So
Yeah.
not everything gets solved on day one. So in a way, what you're saying is, as of now, there are different types of jewelers in the market.
Yeah.
Some are really, really up there, like Tanishq, and then there are a bunch of others. They have their own, loyal customer base. Now, is there a way that you can, kind of build trust separately, and partly a part of it is would be the curation that you're doing,
Yeah.
handpicking the jewelers, and only where we're trusted, and maybe 10 other things you will do, and you
True.
have your brand ambassador and all. But eventually, people will say, like it has already started happening with Urban Company, that kind of if a plumber is with Urban Company, then the market rate
Trusted.
slightly changes, or they're a little bit more trusted, even when they are not coming directly through
True.
Urban Company.
True. True.
So yeah, it's a long trust takes strong, and kind
Yeah.
of. So I understand that part. So in a way, let's for a minute, let's assume you have earned that trust.
Hmm.
So now what is happening is, when your mother, she wants to kind of buy something, she can say, okay, I don't need to go to the jeweler who I've been trusting all this while, because uh, he doesn't have all the choices that I want,
Yeah.
and maybe there are other jewelers who are as trusted, just that I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Got it. So tech has solved it in certain categories, and doctors, practo try to do it in other things. Just that this is a very, very, kind of high, value product, and
Yes.
there are years of training that has gone into, and trust has gone into with certain jewelers. Maybe for a newer age audience, it is a little bit easier, but this is also a generational thing. It is not like, while in doctors also, family doctors are a bit generational, but still, this is even goes even deeper. But let's take a step back. Uh, See, there are two, three parts to it. One is that gold itself. Somewhere your success would depend upon the success of the category you're going after,
Yeah.
which is gold. And on top of it, this layer of this gold buying saving scheme that the jewelers are running. If that is a real, that gains more market share, then somewhere that is a good thing
Hmm.
for you.
Hmm.
And the third thing is that how do you kind of layer your product on top of it and then take it further from there? So you mentioned real estate, you mentioned gold, and these are like big markets and all.
Yeah,
And somewhere it is like deep rooted in our culture, in our religion, in our weddings, like everything,
yeah,
and even like uh, they're like it's a part of like gold standard. This is gold standard. Is a heart of gold. All those things like are so deep into it that we understand what it is. But somehow as in this is a bit individual. Like I never kind of bought into the whole idea of gold. Now when I was thinking about it, one thought occurred to me was that see what we are doing as misfits. The world is fine without misfits, and the world is fine without plus.
yeah.
Uh, but we thought there is an opportunity, there is something, some difference we can create, so let's go after that. So when we are talking, our user base, we are also in a way an investment product. You are also an investment product. And that's why this thought.
Yeah,
But we are where people are like, this is a very, this is tech startups. Very few people can evaluate it.
yeah,
Very different risk capital. The risk profile is very different versus gold, which is like most safest kind of thing, more than banks. Gold is still with you. You don't have to kind of rely on the bank going
yeah.
fat and all those things. So it's one of the safest, and we are the
Hmm.
riskiest. So it's the
Yeah,
other side of it. uh, and that's why probably it has a lot more adoption than kind of
true,
what we are talking about.
true.
uh, and the second thing is real estate. And if you compare this, in a way there is some kind of a duality in gold is what I see. See, we are a pure play investment product
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
misfits.
Hmm.
You're
Hmm.
getting a portfolio of startups.
Yeah,
But gold is, I buy it, it's a purchase, but it's also an investment.
yeah,
Like when we buy a car, they say that you come back from the showroom and it has lost some value. In a
yeah.
year, it is like depreciated further. Gold probably has appreciated after the
Hmm.
years. So in a way, it's like I have my cake and I can eat it too. So I can fulfill my desires that okay, people should I should feel good that
Hmm.
I'm wearing good jewelry, or I can
Yeah,
flaunt it a bit.
yeah,
At the same time, it's an investment. So in a poor country like ours, it's a beautiful thing. It solves for your that need to look good, to feel
yeah,
good,
yeah.
but it is a very prudent thing. So I understand, and Indian consumer is very savvy. So and that's what kind of when we were talking, this is what kind of gave me that confidence because it was very contrary on the other side of the spectrum for us. Uh, but when you think more about it, this is already factored into the market.
Hmm.
This is not something you are changing. This is
Yeah,
already happening, and because it is factored and it is so deep, it becomes like there are many ways to solve it. The
hmm.
trusted jeweler we talked about. Now someone is like Gullak is doing it in their own way. Banks are also selling gold.
Yeah,
And you can just buy sovereign bonds and all.
yeah.
So that even if I'm sold onto gold, let's compare the gold schemes that are, forget about plus still.
Hmm. Yeah.
How do you kind of compare what a jeweler scheme is versus what ICICI Bank is offering versus what Gullak is offering, or what are the other options that someone like your mother has? And let's say it is about saving only.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
how do you?
So I think, if I have to compare, let's say, in my understanding, there are three options that my mom will have always, right? One is the bank, one is the jeweler, one is the dabba, right? Because dabba is usually the most preferred saving mechanism for a homemaker, right? वो डब्बे के नीचे तकिए के नीचे वाला cash is always there, right? Uh, with respect to the first channel, which is the banks, right? The problem with bank is the bank is never reaching out enough to this audience. That's the biggest problem. The way banks are selling their gold right now is by directly selling it to the jewelers. So every bank has their own billion desk, right? They are talking to the jewelers are approaching the bank, they're giving them GML, which is the gold monetization loan, right? And the jeweler has 180 days to pay them back. Now here, the problem that a jeweler face in GML is if as a jeweler I have taken 2 kgs of loan, right? I have to pay back 2 kgs plus 4% interest. It's not the amount, and gold usually appreciates, right? In 3-4 months, if there is an event, like for example, till Ayodhya Mandir launch, right? The gold price was there. The moment Ayodhya Mandir ka launch came in nearby, 3% uptick. Right? So this uptick keeps on happening with religious events, with certain market conditions, and etc. And the jeweler faces problem in paying that back because उसने जब gold लिया था, the price was 3% less. Now he has to pay 3% extra plus 5% का interest. So for him, it's 8% working capital. Whereas, right, when the jeweler is taking money from the consumer, he is getting it just merely for 2-3% working capital, right? Because he is giving that away as discounts on his making charges, which is usually in the mids of 12% to 18%, right? And in some cases with the likes of Tanishq is 25%, right? So for my mom, right, because the banks are not reaching out enough, the two options that remains are the jewelers and the dabba with respect to gold, right? And when it comes to gold, my mom doesn't know Gullak exist. My mom doesn't know if jar exist. My mom, even right now, just knows that plus exists, but what it does is she's still confused,
But
right?
she would know it because you are there. But let's
Yes,
say
right.
my mom would
But
not know plus also, Gullak
exactly,
also.
right?
How would
So,
she operate?
so for this audience, right, the communication will happen through the family, right, and the jeweler. That's why I said, jewelers are our backbone. While we want to give flexibility to our consumers, we know that the major discovery will happen at the jeweler's center, right? And this is how we want to drive it further. We will
Yeah.
be the largest heterogeneous scheme in the country for saving for jewelry, where the user can save with us and buy from any of the 300 plus partners. But yes, we will also be operating jeweler schemes where the user is comfortable saving with the jeweler and he will be on our platform.
See, in theory, I understand that, kind
Yeah,
of something has been proven in an unorganized manner where jewelers are running this scheme.
yeah.
It has also been proven by a very savvy organized player who has got huge market share. So there is some, and they are very better equipped to do it because you will get something like, okay, I received your money. There's some kind of a proof of that and all
Yeah.
those things, and maybe a reminder that your next payment is due, or whatever
Hmm.
those small nuances could be. I think Titan or Tanish can do it a lot better than a regular jeweler would.
Yeah.
Now, so there is a case that, okay, what Shopify did, or what which has happened everywhere, that some kind of a marketplace, some kind of a platform comes in and says, let me give you a stack which enables you to run the scheme in a more professional manner.
Yeah.
Uh, and to that extent, I totally understand. But the moment you say that, okay, then you are being jeweler's friend. I'm giving you leverage of technology which you otherwise didn't have.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you are also trying to be true to the user. And to the user, you're saying, okay, to your mom, you will come and say, oh, you have been buying from jeweler A. You can also buy from jeweler B, who is as trusted. Or you may end up coming and saying that this one is more trusted and jeweler A is not as good, or whatever. So in that sense, while you are creating a nice tech layer for the jeweler, you are also somewhere giving, opening the market for there. You're maybe also giving choice to the user, which goes against the lock-in that the jeweler would want to have.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, a jeweler already has a set of audience who is saving with us. We are not taking away that audience from them, right? We are just saying that we will give you more customers, right? And for user, we are saying that you will get more flexibility, right? So when I say that I'm not taking away the customer from the jeweler, I am simply saying that ki uska customer is saving with that jeweler only. Once that jeweler user is saving that with that customer, he doesn't have the flexibility. But if that same customer, apart from saving with that specific jeweler, wants to save in another plan where he is flexible, right, that user will have that flexibility, whereas our customers will always have that flexibility, right? So we want to be that neutral platform. Like for example, right, what a Zomato does with restaurants, right? It is a discovery, whereas the customer decides कि मुझे किसके पास से लेना है, right? And similarly, we are a platform where we allow users to save in gold, which is withdrawable as gold coins or gold bars. right? If they want, if they are not sure कि किस jeweler से लेना है, but if they want to decide the jeweler, they can decide it upfront, right? Or they can decide it during the maturity, whichever way works for them.
See, you talked about Zomato. So the thing is, the choice is good for the user,
Yeah,
but it is somewhere, kind of, or just if you just talk about Zomato, this may not be applicable here.
yeah,
What Zomato has done, they have put cloud kitchens next to the most fine dining restaurant, and
yeah,
on the app you cannot differentiate, and kind of. So that is what the restaurant, the fine dining restaurant, which has over the years built that credibility and is paying for that, it's suddenly kind of felt different, like for and they're not on the like, they're not the happiest people working with Zomato has kind of conquered the market and is collecting toll in some sense.
yeah.
Having said that, Zomato never went to the restaurants
Hmm.
directly
Hmm.
and said, give me your users.
Hmm.
Right, what they did was they may have some awards, but that was the earlier avatar
That's
of
it. Yeah, yeah,
Zomato, right?
yeah.
So now somewhere you are saying that jeweler will be instrumental, or let me just ask a different question. How will you acquire users? And will jewelers have a role to play in that? If they have a role to play, then there is a conflict. If there is no role to play, see, if you're giving me new users, then
Hmm.
I'm fine. I'm doing my business. You are not taking my business away. You're not taking my customer away, but you're giving me new business. So you are acquiring users elsewhere and giving me that. So I like you. But if you start giving my user a choice because I got into your, see, if I'm a jeweler and to be able to do it in a more organized manner, more systemic manner, the jeweler asks that, okay, why don't you install the Plus app and then do it? And then the user says, okay, this is great, I will do this, but why should I do it with this jeweler? I should do it with any other jeweler. So then you are, while you are kind of building that tech stack for the jeweler, you're also somewhere creating that choice for the user, and then that's the dilemma that I'm talking about. See, eventually some answer will emerge and you will have to kind of take sides,
Hmm.
but today, what is your thinking? How's your user acquisition and how does it play out?
So, for example, our journey actually started very similar to Zomato, where, we knew that the jewelers are not going to directly entertain us, right? When we have, till we have a huge customer base, right? We started just listing the jewelers onto the app, right? Just like how they are listed on Google,
Okay.
we just started listing them on the app. And basis on the inquiries that we started getting, right? We started calling up the jeweler saying, "Ki, this is the customer who wants to buy this kind of jewelry, right? What kind of discount can you entertain?" Right? And before even we launched the app, we enabled like close to 4 crore worth of sales for some jewelers in Mumbai, right? And when the jewelers got this understanding, कि yes, yeah, there's this company who is helping us get more customers, right? It's just we have to give some fractional discount, right? Jewelers started directly engaging with us. They are like, okay, why don't we make this a permanent engagement? That is how we started signing contracts with them, saying, कि yes, get listed as a verified partner on the app, and the users will directly get in touch with you. When they do, you will get a WhatsApp about with the customer details, and the customer will get the direction to your store. When that happened, right, we decided, yes, while we are a platform, right, we have to be neutral with both the parties, right? We cannot influence the user saying कि ये jeweler अच्छा है और ये नहीं है, right? We need to leave that choice to the end customer, and same is with the jeweler, right? Our GTM now is majorly focused towards tapping into that entire household who is thinking of about saving, right? That father who is in probably in his early 40s planning for his daughter's marriage, or a brother who wants to gift something to his sister, or a husband waiting for his anniversary, right? So we are planning to tap into that audience through multiple digital channels, right? That is our primary and core GTM. When a jeweler hosts his scheme, while we are talking, just got a confirmation from two other jewelers on the mail that they've confirmed hosting their schemes on the app, which means all of their users of the schemes, thousands of people who are paying them every month, will be paying through our app now, right? When they are paying through our app to that jeweler, their savings will be redeemable only at that jeweler. But if they want to create another saving on the app, they will be free to do so, right? So as a platform, we are just enabling the existing customers that ठीक है jeweler को pay कर रहे हो, इसी से करते रहो, and then giving them a flexibility to operate individually as well.
Yeah, so I get that. Just that somewhere these things will emerge. Maybe
Yeah.
it's happening today. Over time, kind of people will realize, jewelers will realize a few things. Somewhere those lines have to be drawn. Okay, what is it? And it becomes tricky because two-sided. It's a two-sided market. So it's not something which is unique to you, though.
Hmm.
It's true for every two-sided marketplace, and everyone has solved it differently.
Yeah.
But somewhere you have to say who is your primary customer, who is your secondary customer. Like
Yeah.
Uber said that drivers are my secondary customer. And that's why all the, kind of those strikes, all those issues happen. But customers say, wow. The only time that they said that, customers are not my primary is when they did that surge. And that's why customers only don't like them for that surge
Search. Yeah.
or cancellation. So
Yeah.
it is always, see, something will come out. So it's not that those businesses don't exist or they cannot be created. It's just that if we know, maybe we can design it slightly differently, or we don't misstep, because the moment you misstep, your branding is there, and then kind of people start distrusting, all those things happen. But
Yeah.
anyway, let's move on. We have discussed this enough. I think somewhere when you were talking about Gullak and bank, so bank part I understood. Maybe what I didn't understand is how is Gullak, Jar, how are they kind of different from you? Because they're also savings. I can understand India Goal is different, and which is what you may want to do at some point. That's a different thing. But the core proposition that we are talking about, they are also doing.
Yeah.
Is your user base different? Target user segment different? Is your modus operandi different from you?
So, so I think, there's nothing against those platform. Obviously, they're doing great business. It's the core difference with Jar. What I would say is and the founder of Jar is a good friend. We used to be roommates in Delhi back in
Wow.
time, right? The kind of agenda that Jar has is to be that first savings app. They want to be into the penny savings market, right? That 2 rupees, 5 rupees of every transaction, or 10 rupees at max of every transaction, they want to capitalize on that money, right? To capitalize on that money, you require huge money, right? Backing you. For example, right, for every 10 rupee that you will transact in digital gold, right, you're losing 2 rupees, right? So
Yeah.
there is multiple barriers there. So I think that market is tricky to be in,
But
right?
is it their core product, or is it how they are kind of going live?
So,
Because it's a much
their
bigger
idea
appeal to
was,
this
yeah, yeah, their
GTA.
idea was to have a foot in the door with
Yeah,
mass audience, and then probably launch another fintech products. Like
exactly.
now they are doing insurance and few others, right? So now I would classify Jar as a gold savings app, right? They are trying to get into the entire fintech thing, and to be honest, they launched their own jewelry chain also, so
Oh,
they'll, right. Jar has introduced their own online jewelry store as
okay, online. Yeah, yeah.
right? So, and if they want to do a saving scheme, we'll probably host them as well, right? So, Jar is in a very different market. Whereas with respect to Gullak, right, Gullak is backed by one of the common investors, right?
Augment. Yeah.
Yes, right. And one of the things that we realized that is very different in Gullak is Gullak also started with that penny savings market, what Jar did, right?
Okay. Yeah,
When
name
they
suggests that. Yeah.
Yes. And when they went into YC, they realized obviously through certain studies and exercises, they realized that it's frugal to tap into the penny savings market. Let's go into the bigger market, right? And that's why they created Gold Plus, which is their, what you can say, leasing product, where the user
Yeah,
gets
yeah.
around 3.54% extra on gold every year, right? Uh, in terms of the,
It's like peer to peer, but here the at the back end it is
yes,
gold,
it's
which is a
gold.
lot more trustable. So they're saying if you
Exactly.
trust gold and you want to have some kind of a fixed
Yeah,
income kind of an
interest,
instrument,
yes.
yeah. So this is what it
This
is.
is the instrument. Whereas with us, I think the backend infra more or less remains the same, but the benefit for the end consumer increases twofolds, right? Uh, in our mechanism, where in Gullak the users were getting 5% extra at max, right? Uh, on Plus the users are getting 10%, right?
That is
For
because of the discounts
yes, for
from
every 10
jewelers.
grams that the customer is saving on us, right, he's getting 1 gram extra.
Yeah, but that see it has to come from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Any some the way I understand this, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that good luck is just a savings product.
Hmm.
Yeah, and the intent is not that okay at the end of it I will go and buy gold.
Yeah.
they're just saying, you want to, earn 10%, 12%. This
Just
is
stay
one of
with
the
us.
ways to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
it.
True.
And probably this is safer than maybe some other liquid loans or those kind of products.
Yeah.
Now, what you are saying is your customer is going and buying gold.
Hmm.
If the customer
Uh, if the customer doesn't want to buy jewelry, right?
yeah, and
So the
just
customer,
they earns the income and then says, okay, I'm done.
yeah,
That option you have,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So the user, if he wants to walk away with his savings, right, he
Yeah,
can do that in two manner. One is he can get a gold coin delivered to his
yeah,
doorstep or get cash directly in his account,
right.
right,
So
for the
in that
interest
sense, it is
amount as
similar.
well.
So in
In
that
that
sense, it
sense,
is
yes. In that sense,
right.
it's a little similar.
Okay. So there is then the way I understand is that there is you have added an extended to the next level wherein you are saying, okay, you can actually buy gold. Why do you need to just do this? But that changes the audience to my mind, right?
Hmm.
So that is an investment product, and which how many investments we do as in our lives, like
Yeah,
very few. So that
very
decision
few.
making is very different and hard. But purchase we do all the time. So we are buying all the time, and this is not really, at least that's how I understood it, is that it's not really an investment product.
Mhm.
It is like I want to buy gold,
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm buying
pre-planning
gold
the
at
purchase. Yeah, yeah,
and I'm getting it at discount.
yeah,
It's a very easy mental model to play with,
yeah,
but
yeah.
that changes your audience completely,
Yes,
right? That's an investment savvier audience. Your audience is very different.
very different.
Now,
Yeah.
when you move from savvy to less savvy, you may open up this market, but then the question comes that, okay, are these guys people who will be on the app, and kind of, while a lot of digitization has happened in India, but what is your sense,
Yeah.
who is your user, how are they using it, are they really native transacting, like, so they may be sending good morning messages on WhatsApp, but are they really transacting on
Yeah, yeah.
on app?
I think really interesting question because that's what we craved to understand in the first 4 months of operations, right? And when we built the app, we built it for that tech savvy customer, right, who will understand nitty-gritties of KYCs and etc. When that product was put live in the app store and play stores, of the all the users that tried the app, right, the users that we wanted to invest, the users that we wanted to try out the app and invest into, right, those users shied away, right, those users actually shied away. It was very difficult to handhold them and make sure that they transact on the app through our PS team, right. And during that exercise itself we realized that this audience doesn't really need a fancy UI with a proper email notification or an automated call, right? They're always comfortable studying a pamphlet from a jeweler that talks about the saving scheme, a simple table that says इस महीने में इतना डालूंगा इस महीने में इतना मिलेगा, right? And that is how when now we are redoing our entire UI right before a television in a telecast, we have redefined the entire experience. We don't ask users to sign up on the app, right? When the user will log in, right, when the user will download the app, he will directly experience it. He will see what the benefits he is getting. He'll play around with the app, and just before he wants to make a purchase, he will just enter his phone number, and the entire thing will be done, right? And that is how we want to drive the trust, because this audience is used to trying before buying. So we want to give them that flavor. And obviously, we are making it multilingual, right? And if the data suggests going forward, we may even make it what you can say voice assisted. But that's the step maybe after a quarter or a quarter maybe.
So I'm largely done. Let me just kind of get into the questions that we are getting. Some of them you might have touched upon, so we can be very quick about
Sure,
it. But
sure.
so one is, isn't it difficult for customers to keep their saving deposits with a new?
Yeah, I think one thing that we ensure that the customer knows that this is a 24 karat BIS certified gold, right? And this is kept in a government regulated vault. So let's say tomorrow as a startup we die, right? That gold is still there and they will be sent that gold to their registered KYC address,
Got
right?
it.
It is a regulated asset kept in a regulated manner.
Got it. And just on the bit we already discussed a bit, are the users really looking for this flexibility? The jeweler they are currently in the business with is in is somewhere hyper local to them, and there's a family like
Yeah.
connection with them. Why should they shift? This we already, somewhere touched
Yeah.
upon, but if you
Yeah.
want to add something to that.
So I think it's actually a good question, Atul. What I will suggest is the users who are comfortable with their family jewelers are right now in the age group of 48 to 50, right?
Yeah.
People who are in the age group of 25 to 35 or early in their career are more or less very flexible. They only get Saturdays and Sundays to actually spend the time with the family, so they are not really looking to go out to multiple jewelers to understand the scheme, right? So they're looking for that flexibility, and that is the TG where we are trying to
So
operate in.
there's one thing we're seeing in other categories, like in brands, D2C brands and all, that new generation doesn't want to use their parents' brands.
Yeah.
Their soap, their face. I don't know if it is true for jewelry, but jewelry also is modern. I don't know if the jewel, but
I think traditional jewelers right now are selling jewelry's design that they usually have, right? But they have this tailor-made services where you take a picture saying कि ये
got
Kalyana
it,
ने
got
ये पहना था, right? So
it,
they
got it,
just
got it.
charge you extra, but
And they're
obviously
very
they get it
smart, yeah.
done. Yeah.
Got it. Deepak has a question that is plus saving scheme at customer onboarding agnostic. Is plus saving scheme customer onboarding agnostic or it is coupled with jewelry brands? So it is
It's
agnostic.
completely agnostic, yeah. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we want
yeah.
to build the largest agnostic scheme.
And there's another question from Atul. What would be the split between brands versus individual jewelers in terms of future?
So, if I manage Tanishq and Malabar, right now we have, Kalyan and others also, on the pipeline. It's gonna be I think 60-40, right? 60% people will go to Kalyan and the bigger brands like PCJ and PNG. But trust me, no jeweler is small, right?
So I think I don't know if the question. What is your split going to be? Are you more focused on uh, onboarding?
Oh,
Probably
okay.
that.
Oh, okay, okay. If that's the question, sorry. I think if I have to list down the bigger jewelers, it's hardly 10 or 20 or 30 bigger jewelers, right? It's usually one store, two store, three store type of jewelers who are going to be our partners. And these are also legacy jewelers, right? Doing 1,000, two
Yeah.
thousand crore a year.
Okay. Got it. Got
But
it.
one of the limitation that we have is the jeweler store must be beyond 2,000 square feet or else we don't onboard.
That's a trust
Yes.
credentialing thing that we were talking
Yes.
about. Okay. And Deepak has another question. What?
So, as platform, we make on commissions, which is done on the savings, right? Till date, we have around 60 lakhs in saving on our app, right? And based on that, we have 2% commission, which is as good as pre-revenue right now because it's been just 4 months to launch. But I think we are on track to touch 100 crore by the end of this year because we are launching gold as an asset. Certain television events are happening, and that's going to help us.
Got it. Then there was another question. I just remembered that. So it's very recently that you have launched, and you had a round wherein you raised
Yeah.
2.5 crores, and we are raising, now you're raising another
Yeah.
3.5 crore round. So where did that? How was that money utilized? Just talk
Yeah.
about that.
Sure. So I think, when we raised our first round, it was just me and Raj, right? Conceptualizing what we want to build and building a prototype and launching it with just one jeweler, right? Uh, During that launch, we did some campaigns, acquired some 2-3 thousand users. With those customers, we realized that the users were looking to looking into options. Users were not comfortable saving with just one jeweler, right? They wanted multiple jeweler partners as redemption partners, right? So that kind of gave us what you can say, a reality check that we need to have multiple partners in order to enable our users that flexibility and freedom. So we decided ki let's take a pause, let's go back on the field, acquire more jewelers, right? And that is when we started taking customer calls, connecting to jewelers, enabling some discounts, and that is the journey through which we onboarded these jeweler partners onto our onto our app.
What do you mean by when you
So there are
what have they committed to?
Yeah, so there are three things that the jeweler does on our on the Plus platform. One is getting listed as a verified partner where the users can redeem their savings into, right? And when they sign this contract, they define, yes, up to 50,000 ka jewelry, I'll give 2% discount. Up to 1 lakh ka jewelry, I'll give 3% discount. Up to 5 lakh ka jewelry, probably 1 lakh to 5 lakh ka jewelry, I'll give 4% discount, right? That is a discount slab that the customers sign up for. The second feature, second service that the jewelers sign up for is selling their gold coins on our platform, right? Because a lot of customers directly want a gold coin, they don't want to save or anything, right? So the jewelers can sell their gold coin on our app on our price, not their price, right? Which is kind of discounted in a way, right, from market. So let's say if you get a 1 gram gold coin on Tanish right now, it's going to be somewhere close to 7,200 or 7,300. On our app, you'll get it for 6,700. So that's the difference. And that CAC is borne by the jeweler. The only condition is the delivery doesn't happen. The user needs to visit the jeweler to collect that coin, right? And the third thing is hosting their saving schemes. So these three things a jeweler sign up for. And to completely answer for your question, while onboarding these customers, right, this is where the experimentation was going on, like building the team, building the tech, onboarding these partners. That is where the money was majorly utilized, right? And the kind of people that are working with us come from a very high pedigree, leaving their crores of job, right? So I need to pay them something, right? That is where the money got utilized.
There's a question from Avinav. It's a bit longish. I'll try to read it out.
Yeah.
If the user trusts the jeweler, there will be no need to use Plus other than the ease of access to technology. But if the user doesn't trust the jeweler, then they will anyway not trust the whole ecosystem that Plus is creating. They will join the program or app as an entry level user, and once their understanding improves, they might move out of this and get into a direct program with the jeweler. What is your view on both? Which is, yeah.
The churn that's going to happen, right? I think when a customer is comfortable saving with the jeweler, right? We just want to present that flexibility to him, right? We are not, as I said, we don't want to take away the customers from the jeweler, right? We want to present a flexible option to the jeweler. So here, if the user is already saving with the jeweler, as you rightly said, we are a technology platform enabling him to make sure that he doesn't have to monthly go to that jeweler to deposit the money. Carrying that book where the jeweler will stamp हाँ आपका एक payment हो गया, right? Of यार मेरी बहन की शादी आने वाली, I need to buy the gold, right? We are tapping into that Bharat ki emotions, or rather you can say that.
I understand. See, this is a classic problem. See, some of the questions that we have discussed, this question also, disintermediation, two-sided marketplace,
Yeah.
conflict of interest, those are like classic problems with most marketplaces. And that has a play in that sense that, not every consumer comes to you, you lose certain customers, you create that conflict plays out in different ways. Sometimes you try to kind of please one side, sometimes you try to please the other side. Having said that, kind of companies get built around this. Now, the way I have understood it, and I'll try to kind of recap for everyone, is that gold is a big deal in India. It's one of the safest ways to. This is what I learned, and this is what how I have understood it. It's one of the safest way to invest. And what is more interesting is that it is, while it is it may be it's the duality of it, that it is an expenditure which makes you feel good about it. At the same time, it's an investment which appreciates. And that's why the Indian household has kind of taken to gold, and real estate has a different ticket size, but they have taken to gold like nothing else, right? Now, there is a market, there is a trend that we are seeing that over the years, jewelers have started offering schemes, because one way of doing it is that you can buy it in EMI. That doesn't work for if you're buying an asset like this. It better works that you work on the other side, that I have only bite size money to pay to you, but I would rather add it up and then buy, rather than buy and then pay interest on top of it, right? So that way, save now, buy later works better than buy now, pay later in this kind of an asset class. It's an investment happening on the side. Now, this trend is happening at an organized level, at an unorganized level, and you are trying to kind of find a way in which try to understand both sides of the users and see if there is a play. Not everything is figured out as yet, but is there a play wherein you can build this layer on the trust of the users, on the trust of the jewelers, be that credit trust layer, for the quality of jewelers that you have, and then kind of over the years, with each iteration, try to make it more and more compelling for the user by kind of maybe the better reminders, that cancellations is not allowed, that flexibility, all those things you do over a period, and then maybe add. I'm not talking about that, whatever else you decide to do, because that's a different round question, not this
Yeah.
round question, that this money is going to kind of enable this kind of behavior. But the core point here is, and how you're different. We talked about competition and all that. Is that others are investment products. You are actually a purchase and savings product, and to a to an audience, this may appeal better
Yeah.
than something else, and that's what your core bet is. If that plays out, then kind of
Exactly.
everything will be good. If that doesn't play out, uh, when that is happening, so there was this other question which I remember now, kind of it was not listed here, is that you have P2P option also on your app.
Yeah.
Um, while I understand that you have Gullak kind of an offering, plus you also have that buy jewelry purchase offering. That I
Yeah.
understand. It's like you're saying you can go all the way, or you want to kind of go only this much. You don't want the last mile. That's okay.
Right.
But why have a peer-to-peer? Because the whole thing about gold and the trust and everything suddenly is, peer-to-peer is a very different category, and there's an audience for that. Like I was talking to a fintech founder, he told me that like it's not even the phone pay and the Paytm, and they're doing 2,000 crore of this. Like it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
exploded, that peer-to-peer. There's nothing right or wrong. I'm not trying to judge that. It's a
True.
great thing that it is growing that fast.
Yeah.
But when you're doing gold, let's be true to gold. Why are you doing this and creating
Sure.
confusion in the mind of the user? And because then they have to understand about them.
So I think, I'll tell you, from day one, we wanted to be, centric on gold, right? It was not that we don't want to do that. To build an offering of 10 plus 1 that we wanted on gold to happen, right? There was no infrastructure available in the market to do that at that time. The only way we were able to create that 10 plus 1 wala, product was through a P2P platform where users को उसके पैसे का 10 plus
But
1
that's
मिल जाता
today.
है,
So
right?
we are
Yeah.
running short of time, so I'm cutting you. But that is today. But
That is
let's
today,
say
right? So,
once you have enough with the
yeah. So,
peer-to-peer.
as you rightly mentioned, our TG doesn't really understand that, and that's why, all the savings that have happened will remain, right? That are there on peer to peer, but then gold, anyways, is becoming our primary asset, right? No further investments will be happening in P2P, right? From 14th of Feb, right? Which is
Okay, okay.
when, so
Perfect.
P2P will be removed. I have trust on that, but users don't. So I will do what the
Got it.
users want, actually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Got it. Does the app offer that distinction?
Oh yeah, it's distinctive to every user.
Perfect. Perfect. Sounds great. You have anything?
I think we captured most of the points. One thing that I would like to add about the team that we have, right? And I think, as investors, it's very important for you to know the people you're backing, right? So along with me, I am my co-founder Raj, right? Amazing entrepreneur, hardcore operations guy, right? Built a company in past, sold it to a international fashion giant, and worked with Better Place with me, right? He was the chief of staff, and he leads the entire business partnerships vertical. Along with that, our techies, hardcore techies, built startups, sold it in the past, and was working at big fours at crores of packages, right? We made sure that they work with us for pennies, because we have promised them stocks which will be worth a lot when you guys invest in us, right? So the team that we have built is very amazing, right? And these guys come in with a lot of experience of scaling products in the past, and that is what we are working towards. And we have a very single mission, which is build this interoperable scheme, right, as large as possible.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Now we have a couple of minutes more. I'll just try to use it then.
Sure. It was actually quite mixed, to be honest, right? We were able to actually pitch it very amazingly. The sharks liked it, and there were some what you can say, if I say, apprehensions around P2P, right, as an asset, and that is when we also mentioned that we are shifting to gold, and we introduced our plans of doing the way we are executing it right now. And that is why I think a few people liked it, and thus they backed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
But it
Great.
was something that I think, if nothing, every founder should experience, I'll say, because in that 2 hours in the tank, right, you tend to miss out a point that every investor is probably looking for, or at least a customer who's watching that show is looking to hear, right? And
So it brings things out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Got it. So yeah, so it's a tough journey ahead for you. You know, for like every founder, you need to
Yeah,
be just just be relentless and brave. And it's your name means that only. So hopefully, you'll be
yeah.
courageous and build something
Let's hope for
big
that. Yeah,
for all of us. Yeah. Thank
yeah.
you so much. Lovely talking to you, Veer. Love
Same
the
here.
conversation. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye bye.